Hey everyone, in this video I'll show you how to make playtime rewards. As always, the model is available on my Patreon. Let's start by creating a folder in the replicated storage. Name it modules. We'll be storing any module scripts here. Inside it, make another folder. I'll name it playtime rewards. Inside it, we'll store the module scripts belonging to the playtime rewards system. Inside, we just need one module script. This will contain the playtime rewards for each playtime duration. The key in the table is how many seconds the player must play for to get the reward, and the value is another table that will contain information about the reward. The first thing we need to know about the reward is its type. For example, this could be cash, a pet, or a tool. To keep things simple, I'll just be doing cash, but we'll code it so we can easily handle other types we might add in the future. Then we need to know the amount. You can add any other information you might need. For example, if your reward is a pet, you might need to know its mutation. Now do the same for the rest of the playtime durations. Here I have 7 durations from 10 seconds all the way to 2 hours. In the server script service, create a script. First, let's make the player's stats. We need the player's service. Now make a function to respond to a player joining the server. Connect it to the player added event. It's also possible that a player joins before this script runs, so let's iterate over the player's service to see if there are any players already in the server. For each player, call the function manually. We're using task.spawn, which will run the function parallel to the script, so handling these players won't delay the script from listening to the player added event. In the function, we'll have to create the stats folder. We can make a separate function for this. Make a folder. Name it leader stats. This will tell Roblox that we want any values inside the folder to appear on the players list. Parent it to the player. Now let's make the cash value. I've chosen to make the value before parenting the leader stats folder. That's because right now, the folder has no parent. Once it's parented to something, the game will start listening to any changes to the object, which includes properties such as the name or value. This is something simple we can do to improve performance, even if we don't have many objects in the folder. I'll set its value to 0. If you're loading data or want to change the starting cache to something else, then use the appropriate values for that. Finally, parent the cache value to the folder. Run the game. You should see the label cache in the players list. Now let's get the rewards module. Make a function called startPlaytimeTimer, which will be called on players joining the server. We'll need to define a table to store each player's timer. Inside the function, let's make an empty table for the player's timer. Then iterate over the table returned from the rewards module. and fill in the player's timer table. Now call the function in player added. When a player leaves, we also need to remove them from the list. If we don't, we have a memory leak because the table can only get larger. We'll use the player removing event, which fires right before the player object is deleted, and we'll need a function to call for this event. Inside it, simply set the player's value in the table to nil, which will remove the player from the table. For now, let's just print the player's table, run the game. In the output, you should see a table where each key value pair are the same number. We'll be decreasing each value until it reaches 0, at which point we know the reward is ready to be claimed. Now let's get rid of the print statement. We need the run service. We're going to use its post simulation event to count each timer down. This event fires every frame and gives a delta time parameter, which is how many seconds have passed since the previous frame. This means we have a very precise way of counting down timers. Let's iterate over every player in the timers table. We need a function to update the timer for a player. It'll receive the player, their timer, and the delta time. Now iterate over every entry in the timer table. We can calculate the new timer value by subtracting the delta time from the current value. We also need to make sure the value never goes below 0. Now let's call the function inside the loop. And let's also print the player's updated table. Run the game. In the output, a new table will be printed every frame. Each value is decreasing. Let's wait for the 10-second timer. Once it reaches 0, it never goes lower. Now we need to check when a reward is ready. In update timer, make a table for the rewards that are ready. In the loop, we don't want to update that timer if it's already at or below 0. We're also considering below 0 because we'll be setting the timer to a negative number after the reward has been claimed. After calculating the timer's new value, check if it's equal to 0, meaning the reward is ready to be claimed. If so, add reward time as a key to ready rewards, and its value will be 0. We also need a variable to count how many rewards are ready, so we know if there are any rewards ready. We need to do this so we only send information over to the client if a reward becomes ready, otherwise we would end up sending information to the client every frame, which would decrease the network performance. We can't just check the length of the ready rewards table because it's not going to have ordered keys. Then increment numReady. After the loop, check if numReady is greater than 0, so we have at least one reward that has become ready to be claimed. Iterate over every key in the table. And let's print a message to tell us when it's become ready. Make sure to remove the print statement from the last test. Let's test the game. Wait for 10 seconds. You should see a message in the output telling us the 10-second reward is ready. In the replicated storage, make another folder. Name it Remotes. It'll contain any remote events or remote functions. Inside, make another folder. Name it Playtime Rewards. It'll contain the remotes used for the Playtime Rewards system. Create a remote event. Name it Update Timers. We'll use this to tell a client when their timers have changed. Fast get the remote event. Fire a message to the client in start playtime timer. We'll give the player's table. Let's remove this for loop, and then fire to the client. This time, we only care about sending the rewards that are ready, so the data we send to the client has a smaller size. Now let's make the user interface. In the starter GUI, create a screen GUI. Inside, create a frame. I'll name it container. Let's center it by setting the anchor point to 0.5 and the position to 0.5 on the scale. And let's also resize it. I'll also add a UI aspect ratio constraint. This means the frame's aspect ratio will be maintained if the screen size changes. If we remove it, the frame's aspect ratio changes with the screen size. In the frame, create a text button. Name it Close Button. I'll make it red. Then let's place it in the top right. Inside the screen GUI, create a text button. Name it Open Button. I'll change its text to Playtime Rewards. Then let's place it to the side. Inside, create a text label. Name it Timer Label. This will display the time left for the next reward to become available. I'll make its background invisible. Then let's add some placeholder text to see how it'll look. Inside the container frame, create another frame. Name it Rewards Container. The reward buttons will be in here. I'll give it a different color. Let's resize it. Then center it. Inside, create a text button. This will be one of the reward buttons. We won't be creating the buttons by script. Instead, we'll make each one ourselves, so we can customize each button easily. To tell the script which button is for which reward, the button's names should correspond to a time in the rewards module. This button will be for the 10-second reward, so I'll name it 10. Let's make its text empty. Inside, create a text label. Name it Timer Label. This will display the time until the reward is ready. I'll make its background invisible. I'm going to make one more text label. This is purely for decoration. In its text, I'll display the amount of cash for that reward. Now create a frame. I'll set its size to 1 on the scale so it covers the entire button. Then I'll make its color black. Let's make it transparent. Name it Disabled Cover. This will be visible when the reward is either not ready or has already been claimed. Now do the same for the rest of the rewards. One of the ways we can customize each reward is by making the bigger rewards have bigger buttons. Inside this green GUI, make a local script. First, let's get the GUI components. We just need the open button, container, and close button. For the container, let's hide it by making visible false. First, listen to mouse button 1 click for the open button. When the button is clicked, let's invert the container's visible property. This will show it if it's hidden or hide it if it's shown. For the close button, we just need to set visible to false. Let's run the game. When we click the buttons, the frame should open and close. Now let's get the remote event. We're going to need to store the player's timers. Now let's make a function to respond to the remote event. It will receive a table of the timers that have changed, iterate over the table, and update the corresponding values in the timers table. For now, let's just print the timers table. Connect the function to onClient event for the remote event. Now run the game. As soon as we start, we should see an initial state for the timers. After 10 seconds, the first reward will be ready, so we should see it printed. We don't see any other values change. This is because we're going to be counting down these timers in the local script. We have the server update the client when a timer reaches 0 in case the client is out of sync. Also notice how the keys are strings rather than numbers. When we send a table with non-ordered keys over a remote event, numeric keys get converted to strings. We'll have to account for this later. Again, we need the run service. We'll listen to the same event, and then iterate over the timers table. We currently have two cases. Either the timer is already at 0, or it's greater than 0. If greater, let's decrease it by the delta time. If it's 0, it's ready to be claimed. We want to change the button's appearance for this. Make a function called setClaim. It will receive the time for that reward. First get the reward's container frame. Then we can get the button for the reward. I'll change the timer label's text to claim. Then hide the disabled cover frame. Let's do the same for if the timer is greater than 0. We also want the current timer for that reward. Let's show the disabled cover. Then let's change the text to the current timer. Let's run the game. The timers have lots of decimals. We'll be formatting the timers to be like the placeholder text. For now, we can see the timers decrease. At 0 seconds, the button's appearance changes. Now let's format the text. In the modules folder, create a folder. Name it util. We'll store any utility modules in here. For this system, we just need one utility module. I'll name it timeutil, which might contain various functions related to time. We just need one function called toHMS. It will receive the timer and will display it in hours, minutes and seconds. First, let's get rid of the decimals. To get the hours, floor divide by 3600 seconds. Then let's remove the number of hours from the seconds variable. For minutes, floor divide by 60 seconds. Then do the same to the seconds variable. If there are any hours, let's return a string containing the hours, minutes and seconds. If there aren't any hours, but there's minutes, return a string containing the minutes and seconds. Otherwise, return a string containing only the seconds. Now head over to the local script, get the timeutil module, now use the toHMS function in setWaiting. Run the game. Now the timers are all formatted. Next we need to do the timer label on the open button. We need to find which timer is closest to being ready. For this variable, its initial value will be math.huge, so any value we compare it to will be lower. If the timer is at 0, we can set the value to 0. Otherwise, we'll set the value to the smaller between the current lower time and the value being iterated over. After the loop, check if the lowest time is 0. If it is, we'll make the timer label display the text claim. If not, we'll display the formatted time for the lowest time. Let's test the game. Now we see the 10-second timer being counted down as it's the lowest. Once it's ready, we'll see the timer label change. To claim the reward, we need another remote event. Name it claim reward. Head over to the local script. Iterate over each child in the rewards container frame. First, make sure it's a button. The GUI button type considers both text buttons and image buttons. Then let's get the time for the reward, which is the button's name. Note that the name is a string. When the button is clicked, first check if the timer is at 0. If not, return. In this case, we should be using the string because the timers table has string keys. Then fire the claim reward remote event. This time, we have to convert the time to a number. This depends on whether you want to do the conversions on the server or the client. Here I'm doing them in the client, but either option is fine. Now head over to the server script, get the remote event, then listen for on server event. When it fires, we receive the player sending the message and the time for the reward they want to claim. First, make sure the reward time parameter is a valid reward time. Then make sure the timer is at 0. Now make a function to claim a reward for a player. We'll set the timer to a negative number. In this case, I've gone with -1, but as long as it's negative, it doesn't matter what you choose. Then let's tell the client to update the timer. And let's make a function to actually give the reward. It will receive the player and the reward information. Call the function in claim reward. First check the reward type. If it's cash, we can add the amount to the player's cash value. This is why you can handle whatever reward types you want in your game. Finally, call claim reward in the on-server event. Let's run the game. If we click on the buttons now, we won't get the reward. Once it's ready, clicking on it will give the reward. And the open button's timer label still tells us a reward is ready. You won't be able to get the reward again when you click the button, so all we need to do is change the appearance. Head over to the local script, make a function for a reward that has already been claimed, we want the text to display claimed, and the disabled cover frame should be visible. In the loop, let's add another condition. This time, check if the timer is -1. If so, call setClaimed. There's also the possibility that all the rewards have been claimed. In this case, the lowest time variable will be math.huge. We need to account for this when displaying the timer label. I'll display the text, completed. Now run the game. After claiming the reward, the button's appearance changes as expected. Now let's make sure claiming all the rewards works properly. To test this, head over to the server script. In the start player timer function, we can set each timer's initial value to 0. This means every reward is ready to claim from the start. Run the game. Once all rewards are claimed, the text displayed says completed. Let's undo that change. If we instead want playtime rewards to loop once claimed, we can do that very easily. In the claim reward function, instead of setting the timer to -1, we can set the timer back to its original value. Let's test the game. After claiming the reward, its timer resets. and we can claim it a second time after it reaches 0 again. To make things easy, let's make a variable to switch between the two modes in case we ever decide that we want to. Now if the variable is true, we'll return the timer to its original value, otherwise we'll set it to -1. Test the game with the variable set to false. Once the reward is claimed, its timer won't reset. Now test with it set to true. Now rewards loop after being claimed. And that's everything for this video. If it helped you, make sure you subscribe and like the video. If you want the files from this video, or you want the upgraded versions, they're available on my Patreon. Becoming a member helps me continue doing videos like this, and you'll also get access to an exclusive channel in the Discord server to send your video ideas. I'll be looking over these video ideas before any others, so becoming a member means you get a larger say in the content I make. As always, thanks for watching and have a wonderful day.